Hello again, and thank you for joining us on the Providence College Podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Joyce. Our producer is Chris Judge of the class of 2005. Our guest today is Chris Lambton, a graduate of the class of 1999. Chris is a professional landscaper, lifestyle expert, and media personality based on Cape Cod, where he helps run his family's landscape business. He's likely better known, though, for his appearances with his wife Peyton on HGTV's Going Yard, where they transform backyards literally one house at a time. He's also the host of DIY Network's Lawn and Order and Yard Crashers. Another fun fact about Chris is that he was the runner-up in Season 6 of ABC's The Bachelorette. Prior to returning to his hometown on the Cape in 2007, Chris was a high school teacher and boys varsity basketball coach in New York City. At PC, he ran cross-country and track under legendary Friar coach Ray Tracy of the class of 1982, and twice was named a Big East Conference Academic All-American. Welcome to the Providence College Podcast, Chris.
Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
You certainly are the liberal arts model. You double majored in chemistry and mathematics. You taught at New York City's High School of Economics and Finance. You're a landscape designer and lifestyle expert. What else, Chris, can you do as a liberal arts graduate?
I mean, that's not bad, right? I mean, with the development of Western Civ, in my pocket, you can kind of do anything. At the time you don't realize it, but now it helps with everything in life.
I would imagine so. Chris, let's get right into things. Let's talk first about your media work. It seems that the highest profile show that you do is HGTV's Going Yard, where you appear with your wife, as I mentioned. How did that opportunity actually come about?
The opportunity of marrying my wife and the TV show were both bundled together because of The Bachelorette. When I was on The Bachelorette, they said my name, my occupation. So they said that I was a landscaper. And people at HGTV watch The Bachelorette like many other people do.
Sure.
And after the show, invited me in for an interview and asked if I wanted to make a landscaping show. And of course, I said yes. And so that's how I got my landscaping show. And after The Bachelorette, they were trying to get me to be the Bachelor, and they flew me down to an event in North Carolina. And I brought with me a friend from the show, and he had met Peyton through a different show, and she came and met us out one night, and 9 months later, I proposed to her. So due to The Bachelorette, I got a wife and a TV show, which is not always the case if you go on that show. But for me, it really worked out well.
Well, that was quite the double bonus. There's no question about
it. Exactly.
When you're on Going Yard, you seem so relaxed and spontaneous. It really seems like you have a lot of fun. What's the experience of that show actually like for you, Chris? And is that who you are?
It is who I am. I'm pretty spontaneous, and I try to be a fun-loving guy and have fun in no matter what I do. Being on a TV show, I never thought I'd have a TV show in my life. It's never something that I even thought about. But the experience of getting one and having one, I mean, every day you go to somebody's yard and there's cameras around and you're getting mic'd up. If you just step back and think about what you're doing, you can't help but put a smile on your face and enjoy it, because TV is such a fickle thing that it could stop at any moment. And most people don't get one show. Most people don't even get past the sizzle reels. And the fact that I've had over 100 episodes on HGTV and DIY is, even right now, if I think about it, I can't believe it. So every day I go to work, I don't think of it as work. I'm just lucky to be giving people free backyards and get to be on TV and goof around, and I even get paid for it, which is a bonus.
Tell us about the behind-the-scenes planning and production of the episodes, Chris. I would imagine it's pretty time-consuming.
Yeah, I mean, in order to make these shows work, like Going Yard, we tape it over the course of a week. Law and Order, we take it over a week. Yard Crashers is only 2 days. But with any show, just like in a real life job, the planning, which you don't see on TV and you don't see in real life, makes it work. So it takes weeks to set up all the deliveries for those certain days when you need them, to get all the designs in order. If there's any building code or building rules and regulations we need to pass, we need to get all that stuff lined up. So it really does take weeks of time and a lot of people helping. So that way, once the taping starts, it goes seamlessly over the course of the 2 to 5 days of taping. So you're not, delayed here and there. So, just like anything else in life, if you have a good prep plan and you have everything lined up right, it goes smoothly.
One of the things I think that come across in the show, and I've seen on lead-ins, is you mention that yards are an important gathering place for people. Is that a mindset that you live by in your career?
Yeah, growing up in New England, the weather kind of controls your life. We have 4 wonderful seasons here, and, each season I love in its own aspect, but, you get about 6 to 9 months where you can be outside and enjoying it. And growing up, my family loved to be outside. We loved to cook out, have friends and family over. And it's still something I like to do to this day. And I like to share that with people. The importance of getting outside, congregating as a family, having your friends over, letting the kids run around. To me, that's so important. And it's so important to enjoy all the seasons and get outside. And that's why I love my job.
The 2 other shows that you host on DIY, Law and Order and Yard Crashers, they're a little bit of a different approach than Going Yard, it seems to me. Can you kind of explain the differences among the shows, or those 2 in particular, in comparison to Going Yard?
Yeah, so Law and Order is more of a front yard curb appeal show. So with that show, the homeowner is trying to sell their house. And the problem is that if you were to pull up to these houses, if you've seen any of the pictures, you know what I'm talking about. The house has no curb appeal. It could be beautiful inside, but if you pull up, you're like, I am not taking on this project, and you drive away. So what we do is we tell the homeowners, you invest some money into the front yard, you draw those buyers into the house, it's going to be sold a lot quicker. So with a little bit of time and effort, a little sweat equity in the front yard, we turn it into an appealing home that 9 times out of 10 sells really quickly because of that curb appeal. And with Yard Crashers, I love Yard Crashers because I get to walk around a Lowe's home improvement store, one camera person, one audio person, and it's not set up. I literally just walk around, start talking to people, and catch them off guard and say, do you have an ugly backyard? Do you want a free backyard? And they'll pull out their phone, show me pictures of their backyard, or we Google Earth image, so you can zoom right into somebody's backyard. And I literally go home with them, look at their backyard and say, all right, I'll be back in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and we're going to completely renovate your backyard for free. You just need to bring 10 or 15 friends along to help. And it's 2 days of absolute mayhem and craziness. But at the end of day 2, your neighbors are going to be looking over their fence going, wow, that backyard is beautiful.
Tell us about your family's history in landscaping, Chris, and what are the current operations like?
My dad started a landscaping company back in 1993. He was a smart businessman because he had 3 boys, which meant that he had free labor. So he knew that he had us during vacations, during the summer. He made us work with him all the time. Didn't really pay us much. He always said, you know what? You're going to learn more than money's worth. So, mark my words, it's an investment. And you know what? He was right. We learned so much from him. And now my middle brother and myself run the company. My dad still works for us. He drives the truck around. He gets us coffee. He talks to people. And it's a fun business to be in. It's a great family business. And every day I go to work, I get to be outside, make my own hours. and work hard.
What are the most common design projects you do? Can you give us an idea of the scope of your work, Chris?
Yeah. For instance, right now I'm working on an outdoor kitchen, fire pit, patio in one person's yard. Again, people like an area where they can be outside, congregate. They can grill outside and then sit at the fire pit afterwards. And it's a low maintenance backyard. People are here just for the summer. So the last thing they want to do is have to weed the yard, maintain it. They just want to sit out there on the patio. So we do a nice stone patio. They want to be able to grill at their grill. And then once that's done and the kids go to bed, sit around the fire pit with a beer or a glass of wine and enjoy the yard. So we do a lot of yards like that for people. I'm also big into sustainable backyards. I make a lot of raised planters and veggie gardens for people. I myself have a whole bunch in my backyard. So we do a lot of projects for that so people can be, quote, urban farmers and grow their own fruits and vegetables in their own backyard. So we like to do that as well.
When did you actually become interested, I'll say more, in the design and lifestyle sides of landscaping?
I think when I started working in backyards and I just saw the difference of lots of people's backyards, and you'd kind of peer into their house and see their design inside their house, and you look at their backyard and it was nothing even remotely the same. So I was thinking to myself, you know what, there needs to be more of a seamless transition from inside to out. And people need to be educated on the fact that, if you have a style and a color scheme inside your house, you can roll that right into the backyard. And, it's a missed opportunity for a lot of people where they can literally double the size of their living space if they turn their backyard into an extension of their home. And a lot of, especially young families and first-time homeowners who, can't buy, their quote-unquote dream house, if they utilize their backyard in the right way, they can have a lot of people over, expand their living space, have kitchens in the backyard, have a fire pit living room, quote unquote, in the backyard, and have extra quote rooms just by utilizing their backyard in the right way.
And do you use a lot of external labor, Chris, or is it a small group in your business?
We try to keep it pretty small. We have less than 10 employees. The great thing about our company is that whenever we're on a job, there's a Lambton on the job working. So my brother, my dad, or myself are always on the job. If you get too big, what I found is that you're not working in yards and working with the customers, you're managing employees. And I didn't get into landscaping to manage employees. I could have stayed in the business world or in teaching and manage employees, but I like to get my hands dirty. That's why I became a landscaper. So if you stay, on the smaller end, you don't have to deal with the management as much, and you can actually be hands-on, which is the part I love about landscaping.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. You obviously are doing these, these educational, I'll call them almost reality type shows. But you have this other side where you're actually doing the physical labor. Is that more meaningful to you than say the actual media side, like the actual work you're doing in backyards?
I think it's almost like trying to pick your favorite season. Like when you're in summer, you love summer, but when you're in fall, you love fall. When I'm doing a TV backyard, I really enjoy it. And when I'm doing, I call it like a real life backyard where there's no cameras, I enjoy that as well. So I think the fact that, I can kind of bounce back and forth makes me appreciate, the other side even more because, when you're doing TV, there's pluses and minuses. When you're doing a real life backyard, there's pluses and minuses. So, it's a nice combination to have, right now.
I mean, yeah, you're literally transforming, properties and really lives with the work that you do. It seems to me that you have a close relationship with a lot of your clients. You do a lot of work that matters to them. You talk about the relationship side of your business, and do you get to know many of these people well? Do you have long-standing relationships in some cases?
Yeah, working in someone's yard for, sometimes weeks at a time, you get a chance to really know the people. And, some people, are kind of standoffish and stay in their house, but a lot of people come out there, hang out. Once you're done, we just finished a big project and the couple was so happy. They invited my wife and I for dinner. So, we go over there and have dinner with them, and, you develop relationships and friendships. And the best part is you get to actually enjoy the fruits of your labor and sit in the backyard in a non-work related, and just actually get to sit back and enjoy it. And that to me is something that, you don't get to do that often, but when you do it, it's really enjoyable.
At the start of the conversation, we talked about the liberal arts and the PC education, and obviously your life, your career has changed, it's evolved. What kind, and as you look at your landscape business and the shows that you're involved in now, Chris, what kind of, I'll say, lessons or courses or people, as you reflect back in your undergraduate days, kind of, even if it's in the back of your mind, influence you still these days in your life and in your career, would you say?
Oh, are you talking about the people from my PC days that influenced me?
Exactly, yeah.
You know what? I think back fondly on my first 2 years of PC. I lived in St. Joe's. It was all boys dorm. And on my floor was Father Driscoll. And he was just such an amazing guy, a veteran. He was a Dominican, and I spent a lot of time with him, and he was just very influential with me then. Taught me about hard work. He had meaningful relationships with the students on his floor. He had been at PC for quite a while. He was head of the theology department. He wore so many hats, and each one of those hats he gave 100% on. And kind of what I learned from him is, hard work, making meaningful relationships with people, and then at the end of the day, being able to sit back and, have a beer, and, put your feet up and smile and laugh and talk. And he is one of my fondest memories, from PC.
Great. Yeah, wonderful man. Always left you with a good laugh.
He really did. I have some wonderful stories about him, and he was very influential in my life, and lucky that I got a chance to meet him and talk with him and share a beer with him.
Great. One final point, we want to get some advice in from you, Chris. You must come across, a fair amount of homeowners who let their properties go. They feel probably overwhelmed. They know they need to do something, but they aren't sure what they should do. What advice do you give people in these kind of situations?
So a couple weeks ago, I was back from my 20th PC reunion, and I got that question from a lot of my classmates so many times. So I have a response. I tell everybody, the first step is always the hardest. I've been to people's houses where they literally just draw the shades so they don't have to look at the backyard because they're so embarrassed. They don't even want to talk about it. And I tell people, the first step is the hardest. And what you need to do is ask yourself, what is going to get you and your family out into this backyard? Because everyone's backyard is different. You need to make it personal to you and your family. So, if I'm talking to you, Charles, and you may not be a chef, so why would I push an outdoor kitchen on you? You might like a fire. You want a fire pit so you can just sit around the fire pit at night, have s'mores with the kids and relax. So you need to figure out step one, what's the most important thing in the backyard, and then work off of that one thing.
Excellent. Very good. Well, Chris, I tell you what, you work in a really interesting field that matters to a lot of people, and not the least of whom, of course, is you. Thanks so much for being our guest today.
My pleasure. Thank you so very much for having me on.
And thanks to you, our listeners, for joining us on the Providence College Podcast. You can subscribe to the podcast in all the usual places: iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify. And thanks again to our producer, Chris Judge. I'm Charlie Joyce. Until next time.